I have the honor of presiding at Dave's funeral mass because that's the plan that he and I made when I went to anoint him at St. Luke's Hospital on October 8th, which happened to be his birthday, which I had forgotten. I didn't even know what day it was. And went and saw him, and he said he'd like to have a funeral mass. Would I do it? And am very honored to do that. There are a lot of TM classmates here that were in Dave's class. The funeral director's a classmate. There's a whole clump over here, and there are more that were coming in that I couldn't even really see. So there are a lot of people who went to school with Dave who have a lot of history with him. And many other people. Obviously, the musician community is wonderfully represented here. And just for the record, I don't know if maybe the cantor's voice sounded familiar. In a former life, she was Chris Gerard of Gerard and the Orphans. So that name, that voice kind of said, I heard that before. That's where it was. She's now doing church music because she's my sister-in-law, and that's a really good deal. So. But it was only late yesterday afternoon that I saw the long obituary that was in the paper. I had seen the smaller one by the funeral home, but the one that really had the nice picture of Dave right there with the Schlitz sign, and went into a lot of detail about what he's been doing. And I knew what Dave was doing. I didn't know what bars he was doing and different things. So I had a picture, but that was very helpful. But I couldn't help but read it and say, there is really a serious oversight. It's well written and it's informative. But somehow that article managed to neglect to mention Dave's first band, who were the Radar Commandos. I was in that band. That's why I'm going to mention the Radar Commandos. And I saw John Newcomb is over there. He was in the Radar Commandos. Paul Jonas is here somewhere. He was in the Radar Commandos. I was in the Commandos. Dave was there. Scotty Stalick. Is Scotty Stalick here? I haven't seen him in 35 years. I don't know. But anyway. So I was in the band. I said, why is that article not there? We're going to have a lot of musicians. Surely they have heard of the Radar Commandos. And the first time we met was in the spring of 1981 in Dave's garage, next to the lawnmower and the other stuff. I don't know if you know where Dave grew up on 38th and Morgan. You can go past there right now. Every time I go down Morgan, I look at that garage and say, that is where it all began. Now, we had the honor that following July 4th of being booed off the stage at Jackson Park during a talent contest. We played the great rock and roll Swindle by the Sex Pistols, and it did not go over well. I can't imagine what they're doing now with the stuff that's up there. This is 35 years ago. We weren't particularly good, but it was what it was. Future gigs went a lot better than that one did. When I read in that article, and I saw that some of Dave's friends had stolen him out of the hospice to go one last time to the club and do the DJ thing, I said, that is so perfectly Dave, because back in the day, the Radar Commandos played a gig at a middle school in New Berlin the week that Dave's mother passed away. So the show with Dave, the show was going to go on, and we played, and it was great to kind of see there was that closure at that kind of moment, that saying goodbye. It's great that people had a chance to do that. But in addition to that omission about the Commandos, in reading that article, I also felt my professional pride was hurt a little bit because the headline to the article was DJ Dave Monroe sought knowledge to share with others. And that is exactly what I had planned to say. I picked that reading from Sirach that we heard about a man who's wise for himself, but a man who's wise for his people and shares what he knows. He lives forever. I picked that reading before I read that obituary. I want you to know that. Because I said, that is Dave, and that is what I remember. Because everyone who knows Dave knows that Dave knew a ton of things about culture and music and movies and television shows that I never heard of. He was a great artist. He was a great writer. Anything and everything Dave probably knew at one point. And the obituary conveyed all of this very well, as you would know. And his real joy was in sharing that knowledge with other people. I mean, if you saw him and he knew something, he'd tell you. If you had read a book, or you had done something interesting, he was probably going to run off and get it, or borrow your copy, and then he was going to know it, and then he would be able to share what he knew with someone else, and it just went on. The man was like a sponge. He just sucked it all in. It was kind of an amazing thing to see, but he did that for others. My way of, people put it a lot better than I could in the obituary and what they've shared, but I look at it this way. Dave Monroe did not sip from the fountain of knowledge and life. He sucked it dry, and then he ate the fountain. And the next time he saw you, you were going to get a gusher of everything he had learned or seen or done that was exciting since the last time he saw you. And in all likelihood, he would pick up the conversation exactly where you left it off. Whether that was last week, whether it was 3 years ago, I was like, yeah, we were talking about this. I don't know what we were talking about or where, but Dave, if you say it, we were talking about it. And it kind of thinking of his life, it's like, I might never have felt as passionately about anything in my life as Dave did about everything in his life. And there's a lesson, in me at least, for that, about how life ought to be lived. His life was obviously too short, because this world is imperfect, and things that are rotten that we can't do anything about happen here. But I don't see how anyone could pack more into the life that he had or get more out of the life he was given than Dave did. So in our prayer tonight, I think we commend Dave to the love and the mercy of God and give thanks to him for having Dave as part of our lives. He was a unique creation that only God could have devised. And I would pray that on the last day, Dave Monroe is going to rise with a resurrected body, free of sickness and pain, in a world where vinyl lives forever. And I understand that his friend Bill W. is going to come forward, only because I wash him off. Great. And then Aunt Carol, you're up next, okay?